This video is to go over the 1.1 real numbers algebra essentials. One of the first questions you're going to see on my open math is about the properties of numbers, the different types of numbers here, irrational numbers, natural numbers, integers. So what I want to talk about is give you examples of each of them to cover any questions, and then we'll answer the question we have. So the first one we're going to talk about here would be the natural numbers are whole numbers starting with 1. So basically the ones you can count with your fingers. The whole numbers are the same thing except you're including 0. So it'll be those. And then after that, we have the integers, which are still whole numbers, but this time they're positives and negative whole numbers. And then we have the rational numbers, which are all the fractions. And terminating decimals. So by that I mean anything that's a fraction, anything that's a decimal, terminating decimal that doesn't extend forever. You can include some square roots here, but it would have to be like the square root of 4, which is 2. And in reality, the square root of 4 is also, let's say, in the natural numbers and the whole numbers and things like that. The irrational numbers are all the square roots that are not nice square roots like this. So like the square root of 2, the square root of 3, anything that when you put in the calculator gives you a whole bunch of decimals, that's considered irrational. And then real number is all the ones you have here. All the families you see here are real numbers. So if you look at the square root of 45, the first thing I would do is put it in my calculator. And see how you got a square root back with it? And some of you will get a whole bunch of decimals with it. Just the fact that I got another square root there makes it an irrational. Now all the questions you get are always going to give you all real numbers. So let's do another example here on the side. Let's get 3. Let's make it more interesting. Let's get 1/3. So 1/3 is considered a natural number? No. 1/3 would be considered integer? No, because it's a fraction. All of them are real numbers, so that's the first one you should always check off. It's not a whole number and it's a rational number. So you see how I select the ones that match. And then we come to something like this where it says evaluate the expression. I am going to do it by hand, but for you in this class, you can always use your calculators because you have these, you don't have the little ones, you have the big ones that you can just type them in. If you're using the calculator that I suggested that you purchase, you will just type it in. And you can see here, I'm going to type it in just like I see it there. See? And then the answer is 27. Now, if you're going to do it by hand, you can. So if you're going to do it by hand, the first thing is you always do the exponent. So 9 minus the inside of the parentheses. Remember, you're following PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents. This one says multiply and divide. And then add and subtract. So first the parentheses, so that's 5, and then the exponents, that's 25. And I just brought everything down. Now it's multiplication and division, so I'm going to do this part first, which is 2, and then you do the addition. So you can also do it by hand. I don't require you to do it by hand for this class. You can just type it in the calculator. The same thing with this one, you can just type it in your calculator, but I am going to work it out by hand so you can see. So the first thing is the parentheses. So when I try to do this, I do have to follow the order of operations. So I have to do the multiplications first. That's 6 minus 2, that's 4. And now that I have this, I'm going to follow the order of operations. So multiplications go first. And then I do this. And finally, so if I put it in my calculator, I'm going to type it in as I see it. Of course, you don't have the extra brackets. You put in an extra set of parentheses there. That doesn't mean that you're always going to have this option, because once we start putting letters in them, you do have to do it by hand. So if I'm going to simplify this by hand, it would be, you can do the calculator, so you do have to do it by hand. Negative 2x plus 2. And then I'm going to multiply these by the negative 1/3. So I get negative 9 over 3x plus 6 over 3. Now, if you put it in your calculator, it'll give you the answer. Like if I put negative 1, negative 1/3, and then I multiply by 9, it simplifies it in everything for you. So you can also do it that way. And then you combine like terms. And then that's your answer. On this one, it says to substitute. So I'm going to substitute. Don't forget to put the parentheses on the substitution. The x's are negative 1 and the y's are 3. And once you have it substituted, then you follow the order of operations, which means you have to do the exponent first. Negative 1 to the third would be negative 1. Now, if you have questions on how to find the third in your calculator, you see you have the third here, but this is the more general one. You can put it like that, and then you can put any power you need. And then plus 2, 3 to the second power is 3 times 3, which is 9. And then if we follow PEMDAS, it would be negative 4 plus 18, and then 14. Once you've substituted, you can also use calculator here. And that will take you to that. So it just depends how much work you want to do on these and how prepared. The more that you practice, of course, the better you're going to get at it, and the more strong you're going to be going into college algebra. So just keep that in mind when you do all the little shortcuts. And then here we're substituting the 68 into the formula. Use the conversion formula to find the Celsius temperature if the Fahrenheit is 68. So we're going to plug it into the F. And then we do, once you have it like this, you can put it in your calculator, or you can do it by hand. So I'm going to try to do it by hand here for you. And then I'll show you the calculator as well. So once you substitute the formula in, you can set up your fraction and just put it in your calculator. The calculator is really good about you being able to put it just the way you see it. See? And that is section 1.1. Let me know if you have any questions.